Hi everybody, today we are talking to HeatherAsh Amara about Toltec and shamanism. Hi HeatherAsh.
Hi.
Would you please tell us more about what does the word Toltec mean to you?
Toltecs were a group of people that came together in South and Central Mexico to study perception. So the people know about the Aztecs and the Mayans. The Toltecs were a group that consciously chose to explore together. And the word Toltec means artist of the spirit. The most well-known Toltec teacher we can say is Don Miguel Ruiz, but also a lot of people know about the Toltec through one of the first books that came out around Toltec Shamanism, which is Carlos Castaneda and Don Juan, and those teachings. So there's many different types of Toltec shamanism, but the umbrella of Toltec is really about taking radical responsibility, we can say, for our lives, that we are the artists of our life, that we're creating our life through our perceptions, and that by using our awareness, we can begin to transform the old agreements and beliefs that are causing us to suffer or limit ourselves. And shamanism is practiced all around the world, many different cultures. And what a shaman is it's a person who has the ability to go between the physical realm and the spiritual realm. And they're considered bridge people. So they travel to the spiritual realm to gather information, to get healing, to get medicine, and then to bring it back to their community. And I feel like it's really important for us in modern day world to learn about different shamanic techniques and practices, because the tools that shamans use are so very important for us today.
So let's go a little bit deeper, and what I want to ask about is Toltec Wisdom.
Toltec Wisdom is the deep knowing that each of us has of being artists of our life. So really, who's the expert on our life? Is us. So when we come back to our wisdom, what we're coming back to is our choice. And I really think about Toltec wisdom is about getting free on the inside. There are so many beliefs and agreements that we make when we're younger. So for example, if you were in a car and you were a little kid and you're singing really loud and you're so happy to be singing this song and your parent says, stop singing right now. You might immediately make an agreement, oh, I can't sing, or I have a bad voice. But maybe your parent just was trying to figure out where the ambulance was coming from, or they were getting a migraine. And even though they kept asking you, please keep singing, you've created this agreement. And what you're doing is starting to create a whole reality based on something that's not even true. And we do this all the time. And so as adults, if you can imagine this person, their friends come and say, you're 21, it's your birthday, awesome, we're going to karaoke, you're singing first. What would their reaction be? They'd be like, no, I don't sing. And so what Toltec Wisdom teaches us is that using our awareness, we can begin to explore and get curious about what beliefs might be holding from the past that aren't serving us now. And it doesn't mean you're going to remember the exact situation of like, right when I was 4, I was told that, or I made the belief up that I couldn't sing. You probably will never remember that particular incident. But you can use your life to see, where do you have reactions? Where do you close? Where do you go into fear? And then say, where's the belief? What agreement might I be holding? And that then is the beginning of unwinding that old belief, so we can come back to freedom. So we come back to absolute choice rather than being dictated from our past.
Well, and that's really where shamanism and spiritual growth come together, is the, using those tools together.
Yes, exactly. And shamanism is a part of spirituality. It's a type of spirituality that really connects us to the earth, to the cycles, to dreaming. All of these things are very important within shamanism, and also for spiritual growth. And as we use these different tools, as we learn to capture our own attention, as we learn to begin to what's called stock, which is to begin to track what our beliefs and our agreements are, then we begin to recognize who we want to be, and not just think about it, but actually start to live it. It's very exciting.
That's beautiful. And so as a spiritual shamanic beginner, where would someone start? What would be the shamanic 101 that you would start somebody in this kind of a path?
I would start someone in very simply starting to follow the seasons and the moon cycle. So the sun cycles and the moon cycles. And why that's important is that it brings us into touch with nature, which is about beginnings and endings. And we tend to live from, I have to do this and this and this, and then this will happen. And the truth is, everything is about beginnings and endings. And when we learn to honor all of them, and that's what shamans do, shamans work with the cycles of nature. They know that sometimes we must honor the end of something and the letting go process, and that is beauty as much as the beginnings are. So that's a great place to start. And another place is to begin to practice visioning and dreaming, to pay more attention to dreaming, not only dreaming at night, but also dreaming during the day. The places where you have insights or inspiration or a sudden knowing. So start to track and listen to those places of non-ordinary reality when you're more in a dream space, and pay attention to what those are. Often much insight and healing can come from that deep listening.
Thank you, HeatherAsh.
Thank you.
And if you're interested in finding out more about shamanism and Toltec, you can go to her website at HeatherAshAmara.com. You can also join her on YouTube and go to Amazon.com and go buy one of her best-selling books.